All right, we have another tournament here. Of course, we have another tournament every freaking week. But this week, we've got the backpacking 9-hole cup. And we're going to be on, I think it's on 3 different courses. So what do we got here? What do we have? What do we have? We got Jamal Dunes, Kohong, and Acacia Reserve. So let's check it out. I'm having to use, because some of these courses are not on Golf Clash notebooks, so I'm having to use Tommy's site. How bad is that? To look at the holes. I always like to look at these images. All right, so I will say that when this hole first came out, where's my pen? There's my pen. Let's put my pen over here. When this hole first came out, we tried doing a max overpower hook coming at it, and I did get up past the tree up in this area a couple of times, but typically I found myself either in this right here or right in front where I had to go through the trees. And it is possible to get through those trees, but there is a max OP hook that you can do on this. It's possible. And what most people are going to end up doing is trying to hit the ball down into this area here. You've got a straight up shot to the cup. Now, you don't necessarily have to bring out a big ball, but it'll just kind of depend on the clubs that you have. And really, what you want to look for is when you're down in this area. And I will tell you that this area down here is a little tricky because it's way uphill here, and then it goes down into this area is way downhill. It doesn't look like it out on the course, but once it starts rolling, it's very easy to end up overshooting it and ending up in that rough. So just be very aware when you're hitting it. I would rather be a little short and be in the fairway. It's not that you can't make this shot, but hell, you work to get down in here. It's better to be on the fairway. Really kind of look at what ball you're using based off where your red lines are at. So here's, let's say this is your max and this is your min and this is your mid. I always hate being in these in-between areas. So, you know, if you're right at a number, you're right at max, you're right at mid, or you're right at minimum, those are good. So kind of look at your ball choice. I think you will have to bring out a bigger ball getting through this area to get up in there, but ideally we want to try and do that without any overpower so that we can make the shot consistent. Lower developed stuff, you might have a better chance with your big topper than you would your extra mile. Now, if you've got a maxed out extra mile, you're going to pick up that extra top spin, and it's going to be better to use your extra mile. But if you've got lower developed stuff, it might be better to use your big topper to get out in there and use a bigger ball. So it's really going to depend on your clubs on how you're going to get out there. So let's go check it out. Let's go play a practice round. I'll burn some practice tokens. This overlay thing, I got an update. I got a security update from Android on the Samsung tablet, and ever since then, anything that has overlays, even though I've given permission for my overlays to work, it's an issue. I can't even use my grid anymore. You can't reach with my D recorder and my pen. I can move my pen and then it'll access the stuff behind it, but when you're using the grid, it covers the whole page and it won't you can't get to anything. Hole number 1. I have no idea what my bags are. I'll probably switch between my number 1 and my number 2 bag. Should come out here and look and see what that max overpower hook is, because when these holes first came out, we had some bigger balls that were available, but now we've got bigger balls. We've got balls that have topspin boost and some that have more curl or side spin. And so some of these holes that, like in the past, we did shots and it was difficult or it was iffy, might be easier to get to with some of these topspin boost balls. These are the types of shots that you can come out and practice, so that if the wind's blowing right, like you might not be able to do it if you got a headwind or a side wind. But if you got a tailwind, then all of a sudden you've got some shots open up. So you can see where my opponent can get with a white ball with a headwind. And I think for the most part, most people are going to be hitting down into that area. And there is a really nice, and you can see how it picks up speed and it rolls out. Very nice. Very nice. That works. That works. I don't want to do any overpower here, so I'm going to use a Titan, the king of balls. Could you do this with a lower power ball? Obviously, my opponent just did it with a Marlin, but let's do it with this. Okay, there's my red line. I'm going to pull back a little. Let's see if just max topspin's too much. I'm at the +3 mark. Should be 2 rings. $75 rings straight to the right. Or 2. It's the same thing. Now I think from that spot it's probably going to put me in. I think if you're up there where my opponent's at, you're actually in short iron. Short iron range. But where I'm at, I'm probably going to be right there, either maximum short iron or minimum long iron. And if I remember correctly, we were doing somewhere in the +10 on this shot. Let's see where I'm at in my club. I am on my short iron. I'm right at max. It's 1.1 per ring. Let me pull up my trusty dusty calculator. 1.1 times, well, it'll just be 4.2. Look at that. Easy math. .2 rings. Four two. Hitting it perfect. Just a bit outside. Needed to pull it just a little teeny bit more. If you're up there where my opponent's at, I think it's more towards mid club. Mid golf crunch. Got milk? I've never bought into the thing that the only way you can eat breakfast cereal is by drinking milk. We were out of milk the other day and I went and grabbed some. I don't drink very often, but we were drinking pina coladas last week and we had some leftover pineapple juice and I was eating breakfast cereal with pineapple juice and my wife was like, "You didn't just do that, right?" Like, of course I did. I eat breakfast cereal with Powerade. Of course I'd use pineapple juice. Come on. Hole number 2. Let's go check out hole number 2. I can't remember. I don't know any of these holes until I look at them. Hole number 2. Having to use Tommy's site. Tommy does have a great site, I will say that. Now, I don't know like where we're going to be at in our club, and you don't have to bring out anything special. I know in one-on-one, I almost always do a +30. And that gets me super close. It gets me close enough that I can win shootouts. But this number we're definitely going to have to work on. And there are several ways that you can go at it, depending on where you're at. You could bounce from the top and bounce over. I like to get down into this area here and just be able to go for it. You're further down the hill. So like landing spot 1 is up here and landing spot 2 is down. So your adjustment, so if somebody tells you if they're hitting from up here, you're going to do one adjustment, and if you're down here, you're going to be using another. I haven't really ever seen anybody hit over here. I think this is where spectators stand during tournaments, and if you start hitting into that area, you're going to definitely piss off some spectators. Try not to choke to death. Hold on one second. Had to whistle to my dogs. They were being way too quiet. They're like little kids. They're outside in the backyard and they were being way too quiet. All right, let's check it out. Let's just go out there and play it. We'll see what happens. I'm gonna start off with the 30%. I'm not sure that that's correct, but I know in one-on-one play, this is a hole that I don't mind getting on. All right. Because it's pretty easy to win shootouts on this hole, so we'll see. We'll see if I make myself a liar here. That's funny. that's one thing about shooting these videos is you say one thing and then you go out there and you screw it up. You just have to live with it, right? Yeah, when I first started shooting the videos, and I've been shooting videos for a long time for Golf Clash. I started shooting them for my buddy Scooby just so that I was trying to get him involved in the game. He was in a money pit. We were both playing a money pit game, and I'm sure a lot of you have played those games where that's why I'm really, as long as Golf Clash has been on, I'm still surprised that they, like what they do and don't monetize in the game. I think you can just play this with a Marlin. Easy money. Let's see if I can get down in there. Sniper, there's Min. There's Max. I'm about mid club. Which I'm going to hit it at 1 per ring, even though I'm at mid. If I can get it. So 1.3 times 4.9 is 6.37 rings. I'm going to run out of time. Hitting it perfect. I timed out on one in the weekend round in the last tournament, and that if I wouldn't have timed out, I would have boom in the hole. I would, and that ball, and if it hadn't hit the flagpole, it looked like that ball was going to go 1,000 miles past it. I think it would have been fairly close, but man, that thing looked like it was fast. I timed out on hole number 10, and that one shot cost me a second. And I ended up getting 2 albies. I albied number 9 and number 18. But that timeout, and it's super easy to do when you're talking and you're doing the thing. I don't know. I thought I had 1 more second, but evidently I did not. I think I needed to do about 1 more backspin on that. And I'll have to go back and look at that adjustment because I kind of rushed it because I was running out of time. It should have been 6.37 rings. I was close to that, but we'll have to go back and see like where I was at. But that should get you kind of in the ballpark. And the deal is, I was at mid club, but I did hit a max number. So if you take the plus 30%, that's actually kind of a plus 40%. So it should have been 6.37 at max. And if I divide that by 1.1, hey, if I can put a point in there, it would have been 5.79, 5.8 versus the 6.3. So, I mean, that is a pretty big difference. All right. Hole number 2 in the bag. Hole number 3. What is hole number 3? What do we have in store for us here? Oh, okay. So in one-on-one play, one of the very few things that I like about clans. My thing about clans, I think it's great. We have camaraderie. We can get extra bags. Because let me tell you, for those of you that haven't played the game since the very beginning, when we only had 1 bag, when you had 1 bag and you wanted to go out there and practice with a club, you had to commit to it. Because you weren't going to go out there, I mean, you had to commit to it. You didn't have any choice. You couldn't go, hey, this hole really is not a hole to use a big topper. And so it was a commitment. You really had to learn how to play with that club. Whereas now you can switch bags. And so I really do like the multiple bag thing, because one of my bags that I always have, it's my number 3 bag, is my utility bag. And it has a big topper. And you can use a big dog or a cataclysm, whichever is better in your bag. But this is my big topper, big dog cataclysm bag. And I always, in one-on-one play to the left. If you take your big topper and you line it up from the tee box, let's see if we can get the... Hey, if you line it up from the tee box, you draw a line from this rough right here to the tee, and you line your ball guide up on that, so you're out in this area, and you do a max overpower, max curl shot. You're not trying to do a hook. You're trying to hit perfect. but you do a max overpower, max curl shot with your big topper, you'll come out into this area right here, and a perfect's going straight down the middle, and a great to the left, great to the right. You got tons of room, and if you've got, unless you've got a maxed out big topper or a level 7 big topper, your distance wise, you'll almost, with a power 3 ball, it's really, really, really hard to end up overshooting it. So you almost always end up in the fairway. And then the shot to the green is the same deal. It's a blind curl shot. You take your big dog, wherever the heck you're out here, you take your big dog, you can line it up a couple rings, give yourself 2 or 3 rings of separation off of this transitional surface. Do not worry about these trees. Because when you put your ball guide out there, your ball guide might get clipped by the trees and you can't see your ball guide on the other side. So pull it off to the left so that you can check your distance. And typically, it's only going to take maybe 1 or 2 topspin, or even with if you got a big dog, if you got a sniper, you may have to use some topspin. But if you got a big dog, you may even have to use like 1 or 2 backspin. And make your wind adjustment. Don't worry about the trees. And when you curl it, because curl is not represented in your ball guide. So your ball guide goes, hey, if you hit this straight, you're going to hit the trees. And you go, yeah, if I hit it straight, I'm going to hit the trees. But I'm not going to hit it straight. I'm going to curl it. And it'll just curl around and go right. And you may end up right in front or on the green, but you're right in this area. Super easy chip. Move on down the road. You get an eagle almost every time. But if you hit it to the right and you can land out in this area, you have an absolutely beautiful Albie shot. And this Albie shot I have made this Albie quite a few times, but it's one of those ones that it's like, do I do a plus 10? Am I doing a minus 10? Am I doing a minus 5? Am I doing a plus 5? It's super finicky, and you got to be lined up right at it. You can be a little short. The ball guide is lying to you, so if the pin's right here, you can leave your ball guide just a little bit short and it will roll out. But this is a great Albie shot. If you go this direction, you have 0 Albie shot, but you're almost, it's once you take this a few times and you get that movement down, this is almost a guaranteed eagle every time. Whereas over here, if you screw up on this drive and end up in anywhere other than the fairway up here, sand, rough, wherever, you are screwed. Now, if you have a Nirvana in your bag and you end up in the rough up here, you might be able to recover. You might be able to recover. Where you can get up here, you can get over, or you can start off on this side if you do some overpower and you can get up towards the hole, and once again you'll have an easy chip and then you can recover. But this is it. You end up in anything behind that on this side of the line, you are screwed. And it is super easy to screw this shot up. This is one of those holes that when you're on a par 5, you really have to respect the hole, and you respect the hole by bringing a bigger ball. So a power 3 ball works really good on this. A Kingmaker works really good because it has more side spin. And what you don't want to have to do on the drive is try and involve curl, because typically for my own game, I either like to use no curl or max curl, because anything in between is super hard to replicate. And if you bring out a bigger ball, you can bring out a rock or a QB. I took this shot. This is a QB rock shot all day. I give myself 2 rings of separation off of the transitional surface here between the rough and the fairway, and you're walking your ball guide around. Try and get your ball guide so when it's on the other side, this area right here, and you can almost see it in the picture, this area right here, there's a little ridge right here, and it's downhill here, and then it's flat. And you want to get your first bounce so that it's on the flat. If you get your first bounce so that it's on this hillside, it can take kind of an irregular bounce one way or the other. Try and get it up here where it's in the flat, and watch your top spin, because it is easy to roll out on the end of the run. And ideally, you're just going to end up like right in front of the shadows, although you can get in front of the shadows. For me, typically, I'm like right on the edge, or I'm like right just barely into it. And you got a great shot to the cup. Great shot. But this shot can be very difficult. And I see people take this with their extra mile a lot. And an extra mile is great. There's a lot of times, I will tell you that probably the most used club in the game is an extra mile. I know everybody wants to get an Apocalypse, and I know a big Apocalypse is awesome. But like pound for pound, what you will use in your career, an extra mile is a great club, but it's 2.1 accurate when it gets up its max accuracy, whereas a QB and a rock are 1. So if you hit a 1 ring great to the left or the right, it's not going to kill you with a rock and a QB, but you're 2.1 miles per hour off with a rock or with an extra mile, and it's very easy to end up in trouble over here or over here. So this is definitely one of those holes that I would bring a 3 power ball, if not bigger. I mean, you can use a 3 power ball. You don't really need anything else. And it is a good hole for a, hey, come on, for a kingmaker. But I'm going to use a Titan, the king of balls, because if you can't get it done with the Titan, you just can't get it done. And I'm going to use my number 2 bag. My number 1 bag is always distance. My number 2 bag is my accurate bag. And my number 3 bag is my utility bag. Hey, I don't want to do that. I want to play in the tournament. Let's practice. All right, make me go back in again. Hole number 3. I think I'm going to practice this twice. I should practice it twice and show you guys the shot to the other side, just for the now. I'll tell you, in one-on-one play, that's the way to go. If you really want me to show that shot, put comments in the thing, and I will go back in and I will show that shot. But that is what you do on one-on-one, because it's guaranteed to get you an eagle. And a lot of people will epic fail on this hole because they're trying to go to the right with a marlin, which is much harder. And even if they bring out a bigger ball, I see a lot of my opponents epic fail on the drive to the other side. But in tournament play, if you want to go for Albie, you have to go to the right. It's the only way to go for Albie. And you can see with my opponent bringing out an extra mile, they can use a quasar. And what I don't like about that shot setup is they were 3.5 rings off. That's 2, 4, 6, 7 miles an hour off for a 4 mile an hour wind. And that left them 2 rings. So they did give themselves 2 rings of separation, but they didn't set it up that way. That's the eyeballing thing. Like if you go back and look at it, they actually ended up putting it in the perfect spot, but that was not where they originally had set it up. Not. Okay, I am gonna put just a titch of curl on it so that I don't roll out in that. But what I'm really cognizant of is that second bounce. 3-3. I'm gonna do 3-6. Seemed to me like we were doing a 10% on the drive. I'm gonna put a little bit of curl on, not a lot. And I hit it 70 rings great on that side. So if that makes it through, we'll know exactly what can make it through. Woo! That was a 2 ring great to the left. That right there would have been absolutely in the sand with an extra mile or any club that's 2 per ring. So that's why you bring an accurate. Anytime you can take a drive shot with a QB or a rock, why not? If you've got an upper developed Thor's hammer, take it with your Thor's hammer. That's one of the reasons why the Thor's hammer is great, because it is super accurate when it gets upper developed. The Thor's hammer is not, I'm doing the club card trading. The Thor's hammer is not one of the clubs that I'm actually working on, but it is a great club. I'm right at the red line. And man, it just seems to me that we were doing like a 10% on this. But I'm going to take it straight up. It's 2.5. That'd be 2.75. I'm going to do 2.6 just to hedge my bet. I'm going to kind of go in between. Let's see if I can not hit it 2 rings great. and I hit it one ring great. And if I was going to hit it great one side or the other, that was the better side to hit it on. Good distance. And I left my ball guide a little bit short there, but it rolls out on this green. So if you put your ball guide all the way up to the cup, it will roll past it pretty fast. This is a great hole. Like once we get the number worked out for the second shot and figure out, because I will tell you in my experience with Golf Clash, they manipulate it just enough that you got to adjust. You can't like play a hole and go, hey, we got this hole down and now we know how to play it and we're all good to go and we'll never have to make any adjustments. The difference between the wind angle and Golf Clash will make, they can mess with that stuff. And so you have to work it out for that particular tournament. But once we get that hole figured out, that is a great Albie hole right there. Hole number 4. What is hole number 4? What is hole number 4? All right, there are several ways that we can play this hole. And once again, I think there was an adjustment, and I believe it was, well, I always say plus 10, but like that might be a good place to start. So let's talk about this. You can come at it from the fairway and go at it, and there's several different ways that you can do it. There's 2 rough bumps here. The first rough bump is in this area, and the second rough bump is in this area. And I kind of switched between the two, just depending on the wind. So this sand is one of those sand situations where it's super, like here's the fairway and then here's the sand. I mean, it's super steep, super steep. It almost goes like this. Where the second that you go over the sand and get your ball guide into the sand, it makes a huge jump where you have to push it forward, and that can be a little bit inconsistent. So if the wind is blowing, if the wind's blowing from this direction, anything in this plane where I can pull out this way, trying to be centered in here, I'm fine. So if the wind's blowing anywhere from over here, you're fine. If the wind's blowing from this direction, you're fine. So anything in this plane here, if the wind's blowing and you're having to pull it back out into the fairway, you're great. And if it's blowing anywhere along this rough area so that when you pull it, you're staying in the rough area, you're fine. But if the wind's blowing like this, where I have to engage the sand, I'm only going to do that if I can stay within my rings. And I think there's only, like you can, if you center it in here, you're only 2 rings. So like if the wind was really low, or if you had a low wind ball, you could stick with this area. But if the wind was blowing like this, or if the wind's blowing like this, where I'm going to have to engage the sand, you can switch over to this area, and then you can pull that out. So the only thing that's going to hamper you is if the wind's blowing where you have to pull over the sand. So it opens the window up. So getting both of those shots, if you got low wind balls, it just depends on your ball inventory. This is a great hole for a hole in one. We'll see which way the wind's blowing, and we'll see which way we can play it. Now, I'm not sure about ball. And the new ball sorting deal blows. Anybody from Playdemic watching this blows. I'll tell you one of the reasons it blows is if I click right here, it goes to select. Okay, anywhere on there. But if you're out on the course, okay, I can see, let's look at the katana here. It says 2, 3, 2. I can see that. I don't need out on the course to click the ball and have it pop up a little sheet that says, hey, that's a 2, 3, 2 ball. No, I already see that it's a 2, 3, 2 ball. I'm trying to select it. You have to hit over here and select it. I'm not sure which ball to bring. I'm going to bring a Quasar. That should be enough. And I think we're in sniper range. Let's go out and play it. Let's go play it. We'll go figure it out. And I'm just going to do a max adjustment, which is 1 per ring, regardless of where I'm at in my club. I'm pretty sure that's how it works. And I'm going to do a 10%. And I think that that will get me somewhere in the vicinity. And I have no low power, low wind ball, so here we go. Here we go. Getting out on the course. Yee! Goes first. That was pretty nonchalant. And you're practicing. Why the hell would you come out and practice if you're just going to nonchalantly set it up like that? And with this wind, if I try and get into, let's see if I got enough room here. No. See if I got enough room over here. Got enough room over here. Okay, 2.6, that'd be 2.8. There's 2.8. Hitting it perfect. We'll see how close that gets. And the ball guide just needed a little teeny bit more distance on that. I think even if I would have been right on track with it, it would have. I might have been a little short, maybe right there. Maybe right there. But that's one way to do it. So that's this is one of the holes that I can think of. There's just a handful of them, but there are several rough bumps that you can do on it, and depending on which way the wind's blowing, I'm gonna change my area. Now, if you have a low wind ball and you're playing a rookie, you probably get away with just staying in one area. But if you don't have a low wind ball and the wind's blowing in the wrong direction, you may have to switch it up. So just be prepared for that. And I will tell you, this is a prime example of when you come out to these holes and you're playing one-on-one, you may get a really shitty wind, and I see people all the time, the only shot that they have in their bag is this shot or this rough bump. And so they come out here and the wind is blowing horrendous for what they were trying to do, so they force the issue because that's the only shot that they have. So you come out on a hole, be cognizant of which way the wind's blowing, and go, hey, the wind's blowing so that it's making this shot a lot more difficult than it needs to be, so I'm going to take this shot over here. Or the wind's blowing in this direction and this shot isn't going to work, but that wind is perfect for this shot because I still have more fairway to pull off to. So being cognizant of which way the wind's blowing and having multiple shots. It's one of the reasons I do these scouting reports, is because I hear so many people, it's like, well, this is the only way to play that hole. No, there are tons of ways to play some of these holes. And it's important, especially for one-on-one, to know the different ways to play them, because you may not have the right stuff or you may not have the right wind to do the shot that you really want to do. So do another one. That's the cool thing about it. There's always more than one way to skin a cat. If I can get my page to work. All right. Okay, so I got to remember what the shot we were doing here. Okay, talk about a bunch of different ways to play the hole. Okay. I see the mass majority of the people that I play with in one-on-one that I've seen play this hole hit it to right here. And this is, of all of the different ways that you can go at this hole, this is my least favorite way of coming at this hole. But if you come at the hole up here and you can get in the right spot, and it's all about figuring out like whatever ball you're going to use, and this is a good opportunity to bring like a low wind ball to try and get up into this area so that your second shot, you've got a lower wind ball coming at it. You have tons of options when you come at it. You can bounce off the island. You can do a rough bump. You can go right at the green and backspin it. So you kind of have three different ways that you can go at it. I really think that the rough bump is the way to go if you're working to get up into this spot. I think the rough bump. This is a great tee rough bump, and these are the type of rough bumps that I like, is where I'm hitting to a rough, as opposed to hitting to a rough, where if you're in this area and you hit it great to the left or the right, you're either deeper in the rough and you've lengthened out the distance that you have to get out of it. Now you're going to get stuck in the rough, or you miss the rough entirely. Whereas when you're playing on a T-rough bump, especially if you got side wind, you're almost guaranteed that you're going to hit the rough. But if you've got a headwind or a tailwind, you just have to know what your adjustment is for that. And typically I have found that, like, if you've got a headwind, you may have to pull it just a little bit more. If you got a tailwind, maybe a little bit less than more. Okay? You may still pull it more, but you may pull it less than what you did if you've got headwind. Because headwind, especially where you're dealing with sand and water in Golf Clash, typically is like the death of it. This area right here, let's say that's that area, and then here's the green. It is way in the hell downhill. I've hit the shot from over here in this bunker with my Spitfire going from here to the island, and I had to do a plus 30 in order to make that happen. So depending on where you're going to hit from up here, there is definitely going to be an adjustment, and you're going to need to know what it is. But you do have a great shot at it if you just simply hit it up to here. I like the rough bump, and then go for it. The other way you can do it, and this is what I do in one-on-one, is I bring a marlin and my rock or a QB. I set it up at the red line, 3 rings of separation off of this transitional surface. The ball's going out like this. No overpower. You can do max topspin, max curl, try to hit perfect, and it'll go right down in the fairway. And even if you end up right on the edge of these shadows, you still got a shot to the cup. Now, the farther you can get into the shadows, for those of you that are in one-on-one, if you're using a marlin, here's the deal, is you don't have a lot of side spin. So if you draw a line along that rough and you draw it out in here, the farther you can get forward to this line, the straighter your shot's going to be to the cup. So you don't have to use the one side spin you get with a marlin will be fine. But if you hit it way back here, when you come up to engage it, you're going to be off on this side, and you won't have enough side spin. You'll have to use some curl. So it makes the second shot a little inconsistent. If you bring out a bigger ball that's got more side spin and you're just out in this area right here, like if you brought out a 2 or 3 side spin ball, you may have enough. You can take that same shot with a 3 power ball and just go right up to your red line, wherever your red line happens to be, 3 rings of separation. It's a blind curl shot. You're out in this area right here. Your opponent's like, what the hell are you doing, dude? You're just going to hit it on there. You max curl it, goes right down the middle of the fairway, and get out of here. You can overdrive it, especially if you're using a bigger club like an Extra Mile or an Apocalypse. You can overdrive it. With a QB or a rock, it's very hard to overdrive it unless you're really overpowering it. Typically, you'll just be out in this area and you got a straight up shot. You won't even have to use any side spin. Okay, those are your just standard shots. Yeah, there's 3 other ways you can go at it. So shot number 1, shot number 2, shot number 3. You can do a max overpower hook shot and come out into this area. The deal with this max overpower hook shot from over here is your first landing zone is like right in this area, and then it goes over the sand, and it's I've ended up in that sand trap a lot. That's why I can tell you that my second shot with my Spitfire was a plus 30, because I've lived in that sand. That sand and me are very good friends. You can get out into this area. I found that it was harder on this max overpower hook to end up in the right area than the other max overpower hook that you can do. And that is on this side going this way, and you don't really need a big ball. It seemed like last time we were playing this, we were playing it with a Katana. And I think you could actually play it with a Quasar. And get first bounce over here, second bounce, and you can get all the way up in here so that you are long iron. I don't think we were in short iron. I think we were in long iron to get to the cup. We might have been in short iron if you can get way up there. Okay, so you got a max overpower hook. The other thing you can do is if you got an Apocalypse, you can bring out a bigger ball so that you can get up into this area and you can try and max curl it, max side spin. This might be a great opportunity for the 444 balls, or for a 3 power 5 side spin ball. The deal there is as we know, the more top spin you put on it, the less side spin you'll be able to get. So if you put on max side spin, you may not be able to get on all of your top spin. But you can just kind of whip it around on this side and come at it. the funnest shot is to do the max overpower hook shot to get up over to the other side. And this is one of those holes I can't hardly lay off of it. You have so many options on this that it's not even funny. But I'm going to do the max overpower hook shot on the right hand side with an APOC. And I think I can just get it done with the Quasar. Now I may have to take this several times because I can't quite remember the starting spot. And the starting spot is definitely important. And I'm trying to think, do I really need a katana or can I do it with the Quasar? I'm almost positive you can do this with a Quasar. I'm thinking about my second shot though, because the second shot, if you're in a bigger ball, it's going to put you deeper into your club. But I'll try it with a Quasar. We'll see. Hey, I tell you what, I better. This is one of those holes that we definitely want to practice a few times. So let me get some tea going here that's got some practice tokens in it. And we'll go out there and try it. We may play this hole several times because I know that there are multiple ways to play this hole. And the max overpower hook, I think the deal is that the one shot where you use your APOC and you just go at it, you really kind of need an APOC. So if you don't have an APOC that's got enough curl or an upper developed one, it may not work out as good. Whereas the max overpower hook shots you can get done. I did the max overpower hook shot with an extra mile for a long time. You're just going to have to work out your area. You're going to have to be willing to go out there and burn some practice tokens to get the landing spot. And don't really worry about it the first time you take it. You really want to be cognizant of where your bounce is. So, because it's going to immediately tell you whether you need to move your starting spot to the left or the right. There's a rock out there, and I know that rock is involved with our starting spot. And I think, if I remember correctly, you see this rock right here. It seems to me that we were in that rock. Okay, you can see where I'm going to put my white ring right on the transition between the first cut of the rough and the second cut of the rough. And I'm going to put it all on, all of it. Let's take the wind out. It's 1.5 per ring. So there's 3, 8. That's about 2.5 rings. And I got I think I got all of that. Now, see where it bounces? I have no idea where that bounced. It went through the rocks. So I think I need to go farther to the left or to the right. I had some weird stuff happen on that shot where I actually cleared all the way to the other side. I don't know how the hell it happened. I've been taking that shot all week long. And I think what happened there was I came down and I hit the rocks way down here, so I need to take it farther to the right. See what my opponent does. My opponent may just have it. I think there is a way that you can just bounce right on the edge if you got a Quasar and you can get over to the other side. They're doing the same thing. They're hitting the rock shot. Is it bouncing up? Like, what the heck? Like, what the heck's the deal? And here it is. Here it is. There must be a homeless person down there, and they threw it back up. Like, you just hit that ball to me. That is funny. That is hilarious. All right, where am I at in my club? I think I'm at, there's max, there's mid, so I'm at mid club. It's about 4 per ring at mid. I'm going to do 1 backspin. I'm going to do 2. 2 sounds right. It's 4 per ring. And I'm going to add just a little on, so I'm going to go a ring and ring 1.3 rings. Hitting it perfect. Get in the hole. Woo! In the hole. And I added on 10% there. It seemed like we were adding on a little bit on that shot, so I added on 10%. So that made the wind 5.17 divided by 4 is 1.3 rings. 1.2925 to be exact, but who's counting? Now, my opponent, I would take that rough bump all day if you had enough topspin. There is no way I would do anything other than that rough bump, especially with this wind. Hitting it perfect. Get in the hole. See if my opponent made a great adjustment. No dice. All right, that's one way to play. I'm going to play that hole again. Let's try that again. Let's take the same stuff out and see if we can. It irritates me that we don't win a chest on that. Why? Anytime you play and you win, you should get a chest. That's just me. That's what this game is all about. Come on. Here we go. All right. I'm going to go farther out than what I was last time. So last time I was white ring on the transition, and I'm going to go white ring right on the edge. When I fully extend a right ring right out to the edge of the rock. 2.7. It's a little shy of 2 rings. And I got it all. Now let's see if we hit the fairway. What we want to do is hit the fairway here. There we go. And I'm going to run out on the other side. So where I came in, I can come in 1 ring from where I was at, and I can take off maybe 1 tick of topspin. This is like artillery. So the first time I was, 3 rings, 3.5 rings, max pull to the left of where I started off right there. So I still have a little bit of room on the left-hand side hitting it through, because we'll look at it when it gets to my turn, but I was on the edge of the rock, and I think I'm going to go where the transition between the white ring and the clear ring, or green ring if you want to look at it that way. Although it's white when you put it over the sand. Let's see if we can repeat. So there's max. There's mid. I'm about 3/4. And I've still been using my max number when I'm at 3/4. It seems to be working. We'll see. So 3.3 times 1.1 equals divided by 4. 0.9 rings. That's going to be short. A little bit farther through the hole. Almost a ring. .9. Oh, you're not going to hit it. Getting a 2 ring great to the left. Close. The deal is, you look at that and you go, wow, you didn't make it, you big enough pull. I can tell you right now that your rough iron and your sand wedge are the most accurate clubs in your bag. Anytime you're not hitting at max, they're the most accurate clubs in your bag. They're super accurate. Most clubs have a range. Like if you think about, like I always try to get in my short iron range. Anytime I can get in my short iron range, it's super desirable. It's worth the effort to get in a short iron range, because your short iron is so deadly. And it gets so accurate, especially when you're starting to deal with mid or minimum numbers in your short iron. It's so damn accurate. And the rough iron and the sand wedge if you're in short iron range with your rough iron and sand wedge, there isn't anything more accurate in your bag, because they hit from max distance to 1 inch in front of you. And so the closer you can get that ball to you with those clubs, the more accurate it gets, and they are super accurate. I know it, like if I'm at quarter club, I'm at 8 per ring with my rough iron, and it's very, very minute adjustments. I know if you look in the app, that's not how the app works, but I've been playing with my rough iron and sand wedge for a long time and working those numbers, and I've had a lot of success with my rough iron and my sand wedge because they're so accurate. I shot a video on it. It's probably the best video I've ever shot, and that talks about especially rough iron, especially if you got a Nirvana. Any of the rough irons will work. You can work the numbers for them, but I played with a Nirvana since I got it. I played with my Spitfire. I got a Spitfire. Like some people get super lucky. My buddy Scooby got a Apocalypse, the very first Tour 7 bag he ever opened. And I got a Spitfire. And I got a lot of Spitfires, and I was able to get my Spitfire up pretty quick, and I started playing with it immediately, because the whole deal there was distance. Like especially when you got lower developed stuff and you're first starting to play, like anything that hits longer, it will save you. And I find that when you're up close in a sand trap, it's not a big deal with any club. But when you're out in the middle of a fairway and you end up in a sand trap, you want distance. Did I mention distance? Okay, I'm gonna try that one more time. I'm gonna try it one more time. Oh, let's go back. Let's make sure we're on the right hole. Is it the one? Yeah, that's the one. Okay, so where I was out last time, the first time I was and this time I was more towards the center going over. So I'm gonna put it. There was a rock, and here's the first cut of the rough. Here's the second cut of the rough. Here's the fairway. And so the first time I had my white ring on the transition between the first cut of the rough and the second cut of the rough, and I actually hit it over into the rocks and it bounced out. So then I moved it over until at full pull, when I was at max overpower, my white ring was right along the edge of the rock. And I hit about maybe halfway, maybe 3/4 of the way into that fairway. So I'm going to move it this direction, one ring, so that I can try and get closer to the edge of the fairway. That'll open up on the other side so that I have more distance to run out, and I'm going to take off 2 topspin. And that in a quarter, I'd be able to make a phone call, if you could find a payphone, and if there's still a quarter. They probably take debit cards now only. You old bastard. What do you mean quarters? Nobody uses quarters. Hold on there, Buster boy. Where's your little sister? If I can get an opponent. If. All right, let's try this one more time. Okay, so max side spin, and I'm going to do 1.5 less than max top spin. Okay, so I started off there, and then I was there, so I'm going to come in. I'm going to come in a half a ring. 4-3. It's 1.5 per ring. Let's take the wind out. Max curl. And I think I got just about all of that. Now let's see where it lands. Oop. Now, nope. I guess that first spot was the spot right up against the edge of the rock. Right up against the edge of the rock, and I'm not going to be able to get any more hook out of it, so I'm going to have to take off some of the topspin so I don't roll off on the other side. Now, that's bad because it'll roll into the sand. It's never going to end up in the rough right there. Well, I suppose I can't say it'll never end up in the rough, but the odds are it's going to end up in the sand. Right at max club. And this is kind of like where your angle that you'd be at with if you took a marlin and you were out here in one-on-one play. Where you'll have to, what you want to do is kind of extrapolate, like see where the tip is. And what I'm looking for is if I did max curl, would it get me to the cup? .26. I'm at max club, so it's one. That would be 2.8. It's almost a ring and a half. Max curl. Hit a one ring grate to the right, and I think I clipped that rock. I did. What the heck is the post lady doing here at 5:53? She usually gets here at like 11. I think my house is on like permanent speed dial for Amazon and UPS and my wife works from home, so anything she buys, she's pretty much buying from Amazon or UPS. You're getting it shipped in UPS or through Amazon. Now, this is a perfect spot for this rough bump. Perfect. Where am I at in my club? And I'm super close. Super. Let's hit this perfect, and then it goes in the hole. Hitting it perfect. In the hole. Get in the hole. Go home, ball. Birdie. Recovered. Anytime you can run your topspin out, that's better too, because the closer you can get the ball to you, the more accurate it is. All right, I'm going to play it one more time. We're going to burn through some practice tokens here. I'm going to play that hole one more time. I'm going to go back to my setup where I was white ring off, and I'm going to just take some topspin off. This is a shot you definitely want to get worked out. If you're doing these max overpower hooks, it's definitely worth getting the shot worked out. Part of the deal I didn't like on that particular wind angle is that rock is distorting the rings a little bit. So when I took the wind out, it felt like the rings were getting distorted. I'm not sure I made a full... The ring, it should have been like 3 rings, and I'm not sure I quite moved it 3. On this particular hole, I like it when the wind's not blowing from the right. And it's definitely one of those deals where I think if the wind is blowing dead headwind, we probably have to adjust to a power 2 ball. Making an adjustment. They're slightly short shooting it and have a little teeny bit of movement to the left. It's a damn good thing they slightly short shot it. Nope, still in the rough. This is why you take a shot like that. Why wouldn't you bring an accurate club that's got great ball guide? Okay, I'm just gonna do 5 topspin. And I was max pull right on the edge of the rock. 3-2 should be 2 rings. Max curl. max overpower hook. Now we need to hit the fairway right here. Hit the fairway. That is not exactly where I wanted to end up. I clipped the rough on that second bounce, just barely clipped the rough. And I had plenty of room out in the fairway. Like I hit almost dead center in that fairway. I had plenty of room to the left. So maybe just like a quarter of the white ring out into the rough area and the rest of it in the rock. And I'm pretty sure as the week goes on, this is a hole that like you need to watch how the wind's blowing, because it can, see, there's short iron. So if I would have rolled out into this area, I could be in my short iron range. So there's min, long iron. There's max. I'm at mid club, and mid is 1.4 per ring. So it's 5.1 times 1.1 equals divided by 1.4. It's 4 rings exactly. I'm going to do 2 backspin. Four rings exactly. Hitting it perfect. Wow, I took a shot from the fairway. What the hell's the deal with that? Boom! Just slightly overpulled it. So maybe a plus 0.75. 0.075. Or minus 0.1, so 10% minus 0.1. In the hole. All right, we're done with that hole. We got an idea of where to start for our max overpower hook, so that's the deal. Now we can kind of fine tune it, and you can get it done with quasar. So if you have got lower developed stuff where you don't have that much spin, either a ball that's got either a 1 power ball that's got more side spin, or bring out a katana. But I don't think you need to use anything more than a katana, to be honest with you. All right, what's hole number 6? Hole number 6. This must be one of the Jamal Doom ones. Let me think about this hole here. What are we doing? Okay, I know exactly what we're doing on this hole. This hole right here. Oh my gosh. All right. In rookie, I'm just saying this. In rookie, if you hit your ball out here, you're going to get your butt kicked, because the spectators are going to come over and go, dude, what are you doing? Because people are standing out here. Everybody's going to hit to this fairway. When this hole first came out, I was into pounding it out to the very end here, because once again, the shorter club you can get to the cup, the better. Okay? And you can get it way out here. You can come at it with a bigger ball so that you can start off on this side right here, and you can try and bring it around with side spin and curl and try and get it way out there to the other end. If you had one of the top spin boost balls, it might actually, like if you used a Power 5 top spin boost ball, you used either your APOC or whatever's got lots of curl, big hitting club, extra mile, you could probably get out into here, and you might, if you had the wind direction right, you might be able to make it to there. But really, to be honest with you, all of that is a waste of time. Okay? You can do that, and it's not that you can't get yourself in a great spot, but there is a funnel on this hole. If you bring a rock or a QB, and you start off over here, and I can't remember how much topspin we were using, but it is critical because you can over-roll and get into the sand. And we're just trying to get right here in front of the sand. And to be honest with you, the more you are on the right up here by the sand, it's better. If you're on the left, your angle coming in is a little bit tougher. You need a kingmaker, or at least a 3 side spin ball. And depending on where you end up getting out here on a consistent basis, you may even need a 4 side spin ball. But a 3 side spin ball will typically get you right to the spot. There is a funnel rough bump that you can do with a sniper from this spot right here. And if you don't have a sniper that's high enough that it's got the top spin that you need, you can use a horizon. The only difference with the horizon is just like I talked about earlier in the video. Here's where you start with a sniper and you hit it out here and you hit a one ring grate to the left. You're 1 mile per hour. So think about when you're making your adjustments. You're just 1 mile per hour off on either side when you hit a grate to the left or the right. But a perfect is perfect. Same thing with horizon. A perfect is perfect. But a grate to the left or the right is, for most of you, is going to be around 2.4 miles per hour. Okay, so think about using your quarterback and over pulling 2.4 rings. You're going to be way the hell off. But there is from this spot right here, there is a funnel, if you have a 3-side spin ball, where you can do a rough bump, and this is a great hole to get an Albion. And now there is an adjustment, I believe, to the cup, and I cannot remember what it is. So I'm just going to take this straight up. I'm just going to take it at, I think we're doing somewhere, I think it is a plus number, like +5, +10, somewhere in that range. But I'm just going to do a straight up shot just so that I can kind of see how it rolls out. But this is a great opportunity to pick up an Albie. So let's take my number 2 bag and a Kingmaker. Kingmaker, hey, get off of there. Number 2 and a Kingmaker. We better pick it now because we don't want to waste any freaking time with that ball sorting out there on the course. It's like doing math with a slide rule. Well, what's sad about that is that most people nowadays don't even know what slide rules are. You could have 16 engineers work with a slide rule and you might end up with 16 different answers. I know when I was in college, there was 3 different calculators that were approved by the college. There was 2 HPs and 1 Texas Instrument. And in my electrical engineering classes, you had to write on your answers what calculator you used to arrive at that answer, because you would get a different answer depending on which calculator you were using. And so you ideally wanted to be in a study group with a bunch of people that were using the same calculator so that you could check each other's numbers. And they weren't cheap calculators either, I can tell you that. And you might be able to do max topspin. Let's try max. Let's try max and see if that's too much. I'm going to give myself 2 rings of separation. I'm a big fan of always giving yourself a little bit of room. 2.5 rings. No overpower. This is just a delivery system. And if I was going to hit it one way or the other, great to the right gets me closer to the angle I'm looking for to the cup. And I think I would like to get a little bit more distance than that. I think I would. But that might be right. That might be okay. Now, my opponent with the white ball, you can still do the rough bump, but the deal is you'll have to put some curl on it. But they didn't go that way. They went into the sand. What the hell were you thinking, dude? You moved it over to that direction and then you hit it in the sand. The wind was blowing to the left. Where did you think that was going to go? Come on. If I can find the damn spot. Let's put on all of the freaking side spin. Let's start off with that. Three, 2. 3, 2. And I hit it one ring great to the left or right. But I will tell you, it might not matter. No, I hit the slide. And I ended up on the left-hand side because that spot right there is a spot right there where it's a funnel. And so if you can get the right spot, I'm gonna have to play that a couple times in order to find out exactly how. It's 3 side spin. You have to have a 3 side spin ball. So what the hell was I thinking? You got to put on all the side spin, and then you'll have to work your top spin. So this is definitely one of those holes that you want to know exactly what spin you want to put on so that you can put the spin on, and then you find the spot that works for that spin. But there is a funnel right there where you can move it to the left or the right, and the tail will stick at the cup even if you're moving the ball guide to the left or the right. This is going to be a great hole for Albies. There's going to be both of the par 5s that we've gone through so far have great Albie opportunities, but I think this one has got an awesome Albie opportunity. Awesome. Eagle. Don't want to have to take that long ass putt very often, I can tell you that. I'm not a good putter. Never have been. All right, here we go. Hole number 7. What is hole number 7? Hole number 7. Let me think about this hole here for a second. I'm pretty sure that on this hole, like you look at this, I'm pretty sure I know what this hole is. And this is one of those holes that you look out on a 2D picture like this, and it looks like from here down to here is like this. Like, wow, that's pretty flat. But I think the way it really is that this area is up here and the green is way in the hell down here. And if I remember correctly on this hole, I do a plus 60%. Don't ask questions. I will tell you this. If this is the hole I'm thinking of, and I'm pretty sure it is, you can come down here to the bottom and try and backspin it up, and you can hit from down here, and it's super low percentage, but you're almost guaranteed to get a birdie. And the first time this hole came out, I was doing exactly that, because this is one of those holes that can just eat your lunch. And I was seeing a ton of people up here, and it was just eating their lunch. They were in the sand, they overshot, they were all over the place. And I decided one day that I was going to figure out how to play this hole, and I went from a plus 30, then I went to a plus 40, and then I was like, screw this, and I went to a plus 60, and I went, I'm going to work my way down instead of working my way up. And I got a plus 60, and I got a hole in one. And then I played it again, and I played it with plus 60, and I got a hole in one. And then I played it again, and in that particular tournament, I hit this like 4 out of 5 times that week. And so if this is the hole I'm thinking of, it's definitely a plus 60. But you can play it where you're playing down here at the bottom, and you're trying to bring it around. It's hard because you're going to have to use curl. And so I'm going to start myself off. I'm pretty sure it's 2 to 3 rings off of this transitional surface between the fairway and the first cut of the rough. And if I'm not mistaken, I think I'm taking this with a I think you can do it with a quasar and your, hey, get off of there. A quasar and a grizzly, or whatever your choice of. I think you can do it with a quasar. Well, I'm pretty sure you can do it with a marlin. So let's bring a nav. Let's see if we can do it with a nav. If we can't, I'll change the ball, but we'll see if we can cut a little bit of wind down. Here we go. We'll see if this is the hole I'm thinking of. It looks like it from that right there, but that picture does not do this hole justice. At all. Come on. Come on. Come on. You can do it. I know you can. I know you can find an opponent. We're spinning. Thanks, Vern. GCR Jim Thorpe. Nope, it's not the hole I was thinking of. It's not the hole I'm thinking of, but there is a rough bump that you can do on here, but you have to have a Goliath. I don't think you can make it with, you can't, but you can make it with a Goliath. I think that if you're using a Goliath, your ball guide's lying its ass off to you. Kind of bummed. I like that other hole a lot. And I don't think this is going to work out for me. And I can't get down to my ball, so I'm downhill. So I'm going to do a 40 or a 20%. So that would be 2.2. That's 4.4. That's 264. Here's 2.5, 264 exactly. Hitting it perfect. Close. Now I was kind of hoping it was the other hole, because the other hole kind of looks like that. But I can tell you my buddy Dunner is going to be taking this with a Goliath all day and twice on Sundays. But in my recollection, I have taken this with a Goliath, and the ball guide, when you run it through that rough bump, the ball guide is lying to you. You're going to need to leave it a little bit short. If you run it all the way to the cup, you're going to go about 1,000 miles an hour past it. It's kind of a bummer. I was really kind of hoping that it was the other hole. I like that other hole, and most people in the game hate that other hole. There's several par threes in the game that I've actually taken the time and stopped to figure out how to play, because they eat so many people's lunch, and I've went out there and figured it out and had a lot of success on it. There's still a couple par threes that I think are super dangerous, but that hole's not bad. All right, hole number 8. What is hole number 8? What is hole number 8? All right, we have to get on this green in 1. So in one-on-one play, if you're playing with a Marlin, you can bounce off of this and try and get over. But here's okay, I'm just the messenger. Playdemic is a ball manufacturer. Ball, B-A-L. What does Playdemic sell? They sell balls. If you're only buying gems to buy stuff, why aren't you waiting to buy a ball pack? Because you can get the gems for the same thing and you get some free balls. Or you can get some balls and you get some free gems. Gems are the hard currency in this game. But what we're looking for is a ball inventory. And the only manufacturer of balls that you can get in this game is to purchase them through Playdemic. Now, Titan is a little bit different. Titan is the king of balls. Playdemic distributes Titans, but they are their own little deal. This is where a bigger ball will help you, because you need to get over here. You can get it out into this area and chip it over. There's a great rough bump you can do. All that stuff is all nice, neat, and handy. But answer me this question. Statistically, especially for those of you that have played for a long time, if I set your ball up right here, or I set your ball up either anywhere over here, anywhere, you pick the spot, other than being as far away as you can and being on the green, but anywhere over here or here, and I gave you 100 shots, which one are you going to make more? I would bet that you probably make the one over here probably 95% of the time or more, plus, just depending, because you could be down here on the green where you have a long ass putt. But if you're not in the rough over here, if you're just over here in the fairway or the green or the fringe, 95 plus, easy. Here, what, 50 to 70% of the time? And that's if you really know your numbers and you've got everything set up and the wind's blowing right. If you do the rough bump, I think you'd have a little bit better shot, because you can pull your club closer to you. But you have to have a club that's got topspin that'll run it out. Okay, so statistically, you're much better off getting over here. And I will tell you that my focus has always been, and will always be, on par fours. And it's part of the reason I have great teammates. And my teammates, they love par threes. I mean, they're focused on the par threes. The par threes are what win you games. If you go out there and succeed on the par fours, you're going to put yourself in the hunt for a banner. And if you can drop some of the par threes or pick up some of those albies, those are the shots that are going to win you a banner or win you the tournament. But what got you to that point was making par fours. And I'm going to go for a par four like this and go for the green 100% of the time in tournaments. Now, in one-on-one play, how often am I going to go for the green? 100% of the time. Where am I going to typically end up in one-on-one because I've got a marlin? I'm going to typically end up out here and have to take that shot. Okay. But in tournament play, I'm going to go for the green every single time. And I'm going to bring out whatever it takes. If it takes a 4 power ball, it takes a 4 power ball. If it takes a 5 power ball, it takes a 5 power ball. I think on this hole, you can get it done with a 3 power ball, just depending on which way the wind's going to blow. With a 5 power ball, you're going to be able to do it where you possibly don't have to do any overpower. That's one of the benefits of bringing out a 5 power ball, because with a 4 power ball, and let's go back to the picture here. With a 4 power ball, I have no idea where they're at, but with a 3 power ball, let's say your red line's out in this area and you're trying to run it around and curl it. What you're trying to get is a bounce here and then bleed through that rough. It's super easy to get through, to get caught up in the rough, or your angle is such that you actually got through the rough, but your trajectory was like this. And so if you draw a line here, you've got to hit the ball farther on this path in order to clear this rough than you would if you came through here. And it's very easy to end up over here in the rough, whereas if you look to the left, shit, everything's green to the left. I mean, anywhere to the left and you would have been on the fairway. Or you end up overshooting it and you're still in the rough up in here. So getting it around that bend, so bringing out a bigger side spin ball, a 3 side spin ball, a 4 side spin ball, depending on your clubs. The benefit of bringing out a 5 power ball is that with a 5 power ball, you may, where your red line's at, let's pull it back a little. Where the hell did my pen go? It went way up into the corner. I'll never be able to grab it. It'll grab the screen. Hold on. Let me twist my screen around. Let's move it over to the side, and then we'll twist it around again. There we go. Now I can get a hold of it. With a 4 or 5 power ball, you may be up into this area where you don't have to do overpower. It's especially good if you bring out a 5 power ball that has some side spin on it, or even just using curl, but where you can pull it back from the red line. Let's say, where you're getting it out into like maybe the +10, or if you can pull back from the red line, then set the shot. That way, if you've got a headwind, you can still leave it at the +10, and then you've got room to work against your red line. Ideally, you don't want to do any overpower, because then the shot becomes very consistent. It's just a matter of going out there and setting it up and hitting perfect, and bam, you're in the same spot every time. I'm going to bring my APOC because I have one. Why not? And don't blame me because I have one. I have one only because of you guys. If it hadn't been for the mass majority of players, because I never wanted them to do anything with the club card trading. I was perfectly happy with just having extra club cards. What I would like to see them do is take out, I've got my runner and my down and one maxed out. Why would I go to the club card shop? At this point, I should only see clubs that I still have available to me. Playdemic, this is a secret, I'll whisper it. Playdemic sells gems. And if you buy stuff from the store, you're spending gems. And guess what? When you run out of gems, you got to buy more. Why wouldn't you put stuff in the store that people are willing to spend gems on? Duh. That's a 1 + 1 = 2. A 2 + 2 = 4. Come on. Doesn't that make sense? Wouldn't you all be happy, especially for those of you who have all your commons maxed out? Why are we still getting commons in the store? I have them all maxed out. Who the hell's going to spend gems on commons if you already have all your commons maxed out? Spitfire. Getting it close. All right. Let's think about what we're going to take here. But I would have never had... To be honest with you, when the club card trading came out, I didn't have an apocalypse. I was like a year and a half after the club card trading came out. I think the club card... No, take that back. It was about 3 or 4 months before the club card trading came out. So it was a year and a half into the game, year and 8 months into the game, before I got an apocalypse. And then by that point, the rest of my clubs were... Shit, I was never going to play with my apocalypse because I never got cards for it. There was no way to upgrade it. And it was not going to be usable. And then the club card trading came out, and the only reason that I've ever been able to, if I've gotten total 20 apocalypse cards in 5.5 years of playing through free chests and opening up chests, I would be amazed. I've gotten all of my club cards for my apocalypse through the club card trading. So I have to thank the community for for helping me out with the club card. I'm going to take this ball right here because I have a bunch of them. That's what I bought them for. That's a great utility ball. It's got low wind. What I'm trying to do on the Power 5s is I'm trying to find ones that are great utility, like 444s. I'm not sure that I need any other 4 power balls. I mean, a 444, I mean, one that has more top spin, but then you're taking away some side spin. Sometimes you need the side spin. You're trying to get, you want the low wind. I think the 444s are definitely like really the only 4 power ball that I need. But 5 power balls, I'm trying to figure out kind of, I will tell you right now, the next time these Albatross balls come out, I'm going to buy a bunch of them. I don't buy big packs very often, but I'm going to buy a bunch of those. Because those are great, having that extra 2 top spin on a 5 power ball. That's big. Big. I'm going to use that bag. Okay. Let's see where we're at. We got to get on in 1. That's the whole goal. And ideally, we want to do this without doing any overpower. I'm not sure if that's possible, but I'm sure it is. That way we can try and repeat it over and over and over and over again. If I can get an opponent. If. All right, cowboy. Kiss my putt. How about I get a hole-in-one on this, and then we don't have to putt. There we go. Nice shot. You're going to be one of those people. Let's take you out of the loop. I'm always in a constant amazement at people who, like, not saying that Cowboy was doing that. They might have accidentally hit that. But that give you shit, especially in tournaments. Like, they hit a bad shot and then they start emoji spamming you. Hey, dumbass, I can save you if you be quiet. And you're going to come out here and be a D-bag? Like, really? And that's exactly what I'm talking about right there. Like, if you look, if they would have been on the perfect track in the shortest distance over there, they might have made it through. Might. I'd really like to be able to pull back from that red line, and I think where I really need to be is right there. So even with a 5 power ball, I may have to do a little bit of overpower. I'm going to take the wind out. It's 2 rings. And then I'm going to put some overpower in it. I can control my overpower a lot more than sometimes you leave the wind in and you think, oh, it's just going to move it 2 rings, but it ends up moving it a little bit farther. And I'm going to put a little teeny bit of overpower on it. Isn't it perfect? Now it's whether or not I put too much curl on that second bounce clips the rough. A little too much. You want to either clip that rough and then bleed out towards the green. So it would have been fine there without any overpower whatsoever. What's up, baby? Are you ready for some dinner? I'm on the last hole here. We're almost done.
You need to get the chemicals out of this cupboard. It's turning to liquid and
okay.
I mean, I can do it, but I'm a girl.
You are a girl. Thankfully. See if we can get that in the hole. Hit it perfect and it goes in. And it 1 ring great to the right. It will not go in. You will just miss to the right. Let's try that one more time. And I'm not going to put any overpower on it this time. I'm just going to hit a straight up shot and see if the ball guide was lying to me, like where it's actually running out with the ball guide. Was that hole number? That was hole number 8. Hole number 8. I'm going to play that one more time. I got enough practice tokens? I do. I'm going to play it one more time. One more time. One more time. Maybe. If I can get an opponent. I'm going to start singing. Don't make me start singing. I will do it. Start singing some elevator music here. And I got the Sex Pistols. Look at that. And that's about what they look like. Only worse because of all the drugs they did. That was way back in the day. All right, let's try this without any overpower and just see if the ball guide's lying to me. And I think it is. Now, if I go from that spot right there, I don't need, if I put any curl on it at all, it's going to, I'm going to move it out just a little, so if I hit a grate to the left or the right, it's fine. 2-2. Let's take that wind out. And I'm going to lean just a little, and I do have a headwind here, so I will need to put just a titch. No, I'm not going to put any overpower on. I'm just going to lean. Hitting it perfect. And see if the ball guides, how much the ball guide's lying to me as far as getting through. And I think it's, yeah. I think I might actually like that shot better with power 4 ball doing overpower and an extra mile, because my extra mile's got better ball guide. It's one of the reasons why I still play a lot with my extra mile. A lot of my friends ask me, like, why don't you play with your Apocalypse more? I play with my extra mile because I really like the extra ball guide. I don't find it wanting all the time. Sometimes you need that extra little, especially when you get your Apocalypse up to the, what is it, level 5, where it gets that last little bit of distance. Sometimes you need the raw distance, and the top spin's not as important. But in most holes, the top spin's more important. And depending on where your extra mile is, on the fairway. Good to go. Okay, so this shot right here, let's see. Can I do this shot? This is, where am I at? There's max. So there's mid. This club, I probably could do a rough bump, maybe. Does it have enough? Nope. Should be in the 2.4 per ring range. So that would leave me 6, and that's a ring and a quarter. If I can get my ball guide set up, ring, quarter. Oh, and I still can't hit it perfect. What's the deal? What's the deal? In the hole. I think if you're farther back, it seems like if you're farther, even though that club's got 100 topspin, if you're farther back, it seems like you can do a rough bump there with a short iron. I use a Kingfisher, which doesn't have a lot of topspin, so I will typically just go straight at the cup. But you got a great shot from over there. Great shot, and it is easier to get into that spot. But I am going to be going for this green every time. I'm going to work that shot. I'll just keep playing it, and I'll figure out what ball club combo I want. I'm going to have to work with it. Work on it. There you go. Unlucky. All right, dude. That was not unlucky. That was just the way it worked. Hole number 9. All right, let's check out hole number 9. What is Hole number 9. Oh, okay. So let's talk a little bit about this hole. I was out playing one day with Dale Appleby, and I was talking to him while he was shooting some video, and he was playing Tour 9, and Occasion Reserve was in Tour 9. And we were talking about this hole in particular, about going up into this area. When this hole first came out, trying to move the ball, like, you can get out into this area, and I have found that sometimes it's kind of tough to get out into this area. Like, are you bouncing from over here, or are you bringing out a bigger ball so that you can start off on this side and then sticking it? If you're bringing out a big enough ball to get over into this area, you could bring out a little bit bigger ball, and you could try and max overpower it to get up into this area. So, like, if you're bringing out mortal stuff and you're just hitting it up to here, let me give you a word of advice. Big dog, cataclysm, the biggest wood that you have in your bag. Because if you're just trying to hit it up into, obviously you're trying to get along the front edge up here, but from this area right here to the green is a long ways. I mean, you're going to find yourself hitting it up here on the top, and then there is, trying to get it up towards the green. There is a second bounce rough bump that you can do, but this is from hitting from here with just mortal balls, it's difficult. So when this hole first came out, looking at, like, from the tee box, let me see if I can find the tee box here. From the tee box, drawing a line straight to the cup. If this is wood, long wood, then, like just normal wood from out here. So if we could get over into this fairway, obviously we're going to have an easier shot or a better shot. We can bring out a more accurate wood. So trying to get up into this area, your ball guide's going to be going like this. So bringing it around. And this is a difficult shot to get it up into this area. If you're doing a curl and you're trying to bring it in here, this rough area right here almost always comes into play. It's not that you can't dribble off into this, or you'll find yourself off on the other side, but it's a difficult landing. It would seem like it would be easier, but you have to have so much topspin to get from here over to the other side. And then if you put any curl on it, and let's say your first bounce is here, well, hell, it doesn't take very much curl if you do your arc. So let's draw that a little cleaner. Let's see if I can get a little closer. So if you're in this area right here and you're on this trajectory, and so you got bounce number 1 and bounce number 2, the distance that is from here, if you put on just a little teeny bit of curl, bam, you're clipping this rough. You put on a little teeny bit more curl, bam, you're in the sand. And this sand is super steep. I mean, it rolls down into the sand. So you really need your second bounce out in here, but once again, now you're further forward in your shot, and in order for it to, when you're coming through, in order for it to clear this rough on the other side, you're going to have to put curl on it, and you're here, and now you're going to put yourself on your arc, the same thing where you're clipping the rough. So it's difficult to do that coming forward. I'm not saying it's impossible, but it's pretty difficult. And if you find yourself in trouble over there, you're in a word, SOL, screwed. You're in big trouble. You can bring out a power 5 ball and try and pound it from here over to the other side and getting down to this tip. The thing about this shot that I like is that if you fail on this side of the fence, you can recover. You're on the green, you're taking your shot, and you can recover. If you fail on this side of the fence, you might be in a spot of bother, depending on what clubs you brought. But you did bring a power 5 ball, so you got that going for you. So if you can get over to this fairway with your Nirvana, you might be able to weave and bob it and get it pretty close so that you've got a recovery shot. But if you fail on this side and you end up in the rough over here, which I've been in a lot, and I've been in the sand a few times, but I've been in this rough over here more often than not. Probably been in this rough over here more than I've been in the fairway. Probably pretty close, but you can just go for it. I'm going to take the same exact setup that I have right there and go for it. Now, let's see. I can probably take that with my number 1 bag, with my extra mile. Extra. When the club card trading came out, I already had 1,000 extra cards in my extra mile, but my extra mile was the very first rare that I ever maxed out. I worked super hard to get extra mile cards, and I shot a video a long time ago about how to get extra mile cards. And it used to be, I mean, obviously, your Extra Mile is a Tour 2 club. And if you're playing in Tour 7 or higher, you get more cards in a chest. So if you're trying to get clubs, it's kind of a catch-22. If you see people, they rush themselves up to expert or even like Masters 1 as fast as they can. They work really diligently to get up to that point because every chest they open, they get more club cards. But don't bitch when you put yourself into that and you're new and you went up there to get more club cards. Well, guess what? That's going to change where you're at in brackets because now you're going to be playing with people because regardless, they have tiers within tiers. If you were an expert, you're going to be playing against experts. And now you've got lower developed stuff and you're going to be playing against experts. That's just how it works. It is easy to roll off on the front, taking that shot. And that shot can be difficult to set up. My opponent did an excellent job there. That was very nice. Very, very, very nice. Now what we want is we want to roll off towards the tip. And I'm going to do 2 rings. So if you're looking for Extra Mile cards, really, it's arguable like when you're playing Tour 2. When you're playing Tour 2, it seems like you'll get more of the Tour 1 rares. But when you're playing Tour 3, you'll get more of the Tour 2 rares than you will the 3 rares. And you'll get, statistically, I mean, like maybe 40% or 45% are Tour 1 rares, and then you're going to get maybe 35% of Tour 2, so there's 75-80%, and then you're, maybe that last 10 or 15%, you're going to get the actual tour that you're playing in. You can see it when you're playing Tour 7, like you'd think, well, I'm going to get epics, they're Tour 7 epics, but you get them very rarely. When you start playing up higher, then you start, then you're more apt to get better epics. So if you're really looking for Extra Mile cards, playing Tour 3, when you're playing higher than Tour 7 or higher, and if I remember correctly, we're doing a 30% here. And my Grizzly, I'm always unsure about where to play it when it's in minimum club, mid club. So 3.3 times 1.3 divided by 1.1, 39. I don't think I have enough topspin to get me there, actually. So I'm going to have to go at it. And that's not right at it. I'm running out of time. 3.9. Hitting it perfect. It should statistically. I didn't pull it enough. I did a 30% there, and I did a 1-1. I should have just hit it at 1 per ring. That would have been a 4.29 instead of 3.9. That would have been an extra. So I think that hole right there, it might be, even though we're not at max club, playing it at max club. I'll have to practice that second shot. That drive was perfect. Going back on the Extra Miles, if you're playing higher than Tour 7, you're going to get, now you're in the draw where even though you may not get Extra Mile all the time, your chests are so much bigger. When you get it, you're getting more club cards for it. So even if you were in an expert rated weekly division, and let's see how that round went. I don't think I picked up anything, did I? Did I pick up anything? I guess I did pick up some stuff here and there. Picked up a few. But if you're in a higher weekly divisional bracket, what are you getting when you're an expert? So if expert, you're getting plus 90% club cards in every chest. So I know when I first started playing, my goal was to get to Masters 1. So I got my all-out account to Masters 1 as fast as I could possibly get it to Masters 1 so that every single chest I opened, I had 100% more club cards in it. So when you're playing a Tour 7, the chest that you get, now you've got access to any club in the game in Tour 7. And so if you get a chest that has extra miles in it, and you're in a higher weekly bracket, you're going to get, heck, you might get 12, 15 cards in it. So whereas if you play in Tour 3, I think you're more apt to get extra miles in Tour 3 than other rares, because of how many rares there are up to that point. You're more apt to get it, but you may only get four or five, especially if you're in a lower weekly bracket. But what I did at the beginning was I played a ton of Tour 3 and a ton of Tour 7, and it seemed like, because when the game first came out, Tour 2 and Tour 7 were exactly the same courses. So if you were playing in Tour 7 and you wanted to go back and practice the greens and kind of like the approach shots, because in most cases I found that it doesn't matter if you're playing from the second or the third tee, you can put yourself in the same position as if you were in the first tee. And in some cases, because of wind, you can put yourself in a better position. But you could drop down and you could play the Tour 7 courses. You could familiarize yourself or re-familiarize yourself with the courses and then go back up and play Tour 7. The problem with that theory is that when you get to Tour 8, you're taking yourself out where you can no longer play these lower tours and get live opponents. That's why I have max trophies down here. Now, one of the things is I've never played this account past Tour 7, so I can go down here and play Tour 2 and get live opponents. Whereas in my odd account, I've played all the way up to Tour 10, and I can't go down into these lower tours and get live opponents anymore. It's a little bit better now than it was before because we have a lot more people playing. But if you're looking for extra mile cards, I would say Tour 3 and still anything better than Tour 7. But I played a ton of Tour 3 in my odd account when I first went up because I was trying to get, and I like those courses that were in Asia Pacific, and I was trying to get extra mile cards, especially when I got my master stuff. I went down it because I was really trying to harvest extra mile cards. So there we have it as far as the tournament goes. We've seen all of the holes. I've got a somewhat idea of how we're going to play it. And those holes are, I don't see any problems on there. So we always start off with a minimum score of -12. That's what we're looking for, is our minimum score. We don't ever want to shoot anything less than that. Anything you drop off of the minimum score of -12 is a shot that you can't make it up. I mean, once you've dropped the shot, I mean, you could catch a hole, catch a break, but the deal is we're trying to catch those breaks and we're trying to get that Albie or that par 3. Those are winning shots. Those, if you have to use that shot to cover something that you dropped off a minimum score, now you just took the win off the table. So we always start off at minimum score of -12, and then we look for I think we've got some great opportunities on the par 4s here. Some of these par 4s are like hole number 1. We have a pretty good opportunity there. There is a way to get way up there, but I think we still have a great opportunity even if we hit it from distance. All 3 of the par 4s. There is one, this last one, I think we can get on in one. This particular par 4 right here is a pretty tough par 4, but I'm going to do that max over par hook shot on here to try and get me up into my short iron range. At least minimum long iron range, and then continue to work that shot. So best opportunities, hole number 8. I think there are several of the par 3s here we have great opportunities, and there was at least 2 of those par 5s that we had fantastic opportunities on. So we want to be, I think that this week we're probably going to be looking at -15. I mean, that's what most of these tournaments are working out to, is you're going to have to pick up 3. And even though the par 4s are a little bit more difficult than our normal course, we're still going to have to pick up, like I said, we got 2 par 5s that we have super great opportunities on, and we have at least one of the par 3s that we have a spectacular opportunity on. And so I think -15 or better is what it's going to take to win. But we always want to be looking at our -12. So if you're out there practicing and you're having difficulties on any of these holes, you're going to have to figure out how to get the minimum score on that hole. Like, quit going for it. Like, we want to go for it on every hole. But if you're having difficulty on a hole, quit going for it. Just go out there and get your score and move on. And I know you might go, well, hey, I'm not going for it, and I know a lot of other people are going for it, and people are making it, and then I got it. It's not going to do you any good if you're dropping a shot on it. So don't drop shots. Thanks for watching, and that is a scouting report for the backpack. That was a scouting report and a practice round all in one. Look at that. Look at that. What? Okay. All right. All right. Quit dinking around with me here. Let's get back to the screen. There you have it. The backpacking 9-hole cup. Thanks for watching. Hopefully everybody has a great week. And I will, what is it, Thursday and Friday, the qualifying round. So Friday it's supposed to rain. I got Friday off. I'm not scheduling anything on Friday. So tomorrow and Thursday is the days. So I might be able to play tomorrow night, but Friday for sure. We will see you then. Thanks for watching.